Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm here to do a Halloween video for you guys and gals. What would a episode 1 of a Halloween television series look like? Um, it would look like you would start off with this man who'd be in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. He is sitting down in this sort of looks like a waiting area. And there's this desk, and this woman is sitting at this desk, and the phone rings at the desk, and she picks it up, and she says, "Okay, I'll tell him." And she hangs up. He goes, "Well, the governor." She goes, "Well, the governor will see you now." And the man gets up off the chair. He walks in. He walks to the double doors, opens them up, goes in, closes them. And this man would be Dr. Thurman Rice, a psychologist and parapsychologist who once helped track down a killer. And in the city of Chicago. And that's where he is now. And the mayor says, "Thurman, we got to stop meeting like this. I hate to ask you to track down another killer." And Dr. Thurman Rice says, "But you're going to ask me anyway." "Well, more determine if he's alive or dead." And he said, "Well, that's sort of odd." Yeah, because it is. You want me to determine whether a man's alive or dead? If I have to determine, there's obviously no body. You would be correct. There's no body. Now, and the mayor tells him the killer in question is one Michael Audrey Myers. "I'd like you to go to Haddonfield. I would give you access to everything. The police files, Dr. Sam Loomis's notes, everything. Everything that's ever happened. The murders, who's died, how they were killed by Michael. You'd have access to it all." And he says, "It sounds like you're under the gun on this one." Dr. Rice tells him, "Well, I am. I know it's the 22nd of October. I would need an answer by Halloween morning, of whether Michael's alive or dead." And Dr. Rice says, what if I can't give you a definitive answer?" "I guess it's whatever your finding is, I'll have to live with. I probably will be out of a job, but I'll live with whatever you find. I trust you." And Dr. Rice accepts. This is who you're going to see drive to Haddonfield. He passes all the farmlands, the cornfields. His first stop is the Myers house. He said, "Well, not Smith's Grove. I'll get there." And he meets the sheriff. Who hands him the detective notes from the night of 1963, and he's got all these large files. And the sheriff says, "You don't mind if I stick with you, do you?" Dr. Rice says, "No, not at all." So they walk into the Myers house, and he's reading as he's sort of walking. He said, "So this is where it all started, huh?" Yeah. Kids in Haddonfield still think this house is haunted. And says, "You believe in ghosts, Sheriff? Well, aren't you a parapsychologist?" He goes, "Well, I am, but I'm also a natural skeptic. You see, I walk in with a very neutral stance. I want evidence there's ghosts. Hell, I want evidence if I'm investigating somebody's alive or dead. So I'm hoping after all this, I'll have that evidence. I don't know if I will or won't." And they're going through the Myers house. He goes, and this is where you're sort of slowly tying in the timeline. Though they're looking more at Judith. You hear Dr. Rice as he's reading certain notes. He goes, "How long did the fire burn in 2003?" He said, "We put it out pretty quickly. It didn't catch the house. It only caught the garage." He said, "That was a stroke of luck, don't you think?" And the sheriff says, "Well, maybe it was fate." And you have this, they're standing in Judith's room, and he says, there was other people that lived in this house, right? Strodes? And he says, "Yes. Um, 3 of them were killed, plus one young man's girlfriend was murdered here too." Yeah, that whole occult thing, that whole cult. I don't suppose you know if they're still around or not, do you? And he says, "No, I don't." He goes, "Look, whatever happened all those years ago, I can assure you this, I'm no cult member." Doctor says, "Okay." And they're walking through the house. They're walking back down the steps to go out the house. And he says to the sheriff, he goes, "How long have you lived here?" He asks him stuff like that, and the sheriff answers him. He says, "Not too long. I've only lived here maybe a couple years. I'm not from Haddonfield." And he says, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm from Michigan. Uh, you know, from Grand Rapids. You know, um, and he says, "Oh, okay." He says, "I'm not from Haddonfield either. I am from Illinois. It's just not Haddonfield." Um, the doctor is from Chicago, obviously. They go to the Wallace house, the Doyle house. Dr. Rice reads the notes about the murders of 1978. When they get to Smith's Grove, this is going to be sort of the remainder of episode 1. And here's why but let me tell you what the overall end is going to be to set up for your sort of series. Dr. Rice is in this sanitarium. He's at the cafeteria. He's reading Dr. Loomis's notes. Dr. Loomis's notes are so detailed about what happened within the sanitarium walls. It's literally taking you there as the reader. You're sort of going back. You're slowly you hear Dr. Rice's voice, but it slowly fades, and then you hear Dr. Loomis's voice, the other nurses, and all that. You're back in 1963, and that whole couple episodes about your first 12 episodes are those 15 years. Your first season should be the first 15, most of your season should be the 15 years Dr. Loomis spent in the sanitarium. And that's how you set that up. You set that up by an outside character having to investigate whether Michael was alive or dead. And you might say, well, your conclusion is he's going to be alive. Wrong. Remember, this is a character who has to turn in his paper the morning of October 31st, his findings, whatever his findings are. Keep in mind, this is also not Dr. Sam Loomis. Because what's the difference between Dr. Rice and Dr. Loomis? Dr. Loomis experienced Michael Myers. He saw Michael in the field. He dealt with Michael. He saw through the boy who was sitting there staring at the. Remember, I spent 8 years trying to reach him, 7 trying to keep him locked up. You're going to learn what happened after those 8 years, what happened during those 8 years, and what happened during those 7. Something. Loomis saw something. And you're going to learn what he saw. And only he sees it. This is why people have trouble accepting it. No one else saw it. He saw it. And you might say, well, what is it? What is it? During the 7 years, there's a nurse who comes in who looks all but identical to Judith. And Dr. Loomis realizes this. Like, oh, this will be interesting. And that's his thought. Like first he's hesitant to let her go in there. He goes, I don't know. Like, and she's like, what? And he's like, okay. So he's observing this carefully. She's supposed to check his pulse and his heart rate. Remember, Michael stared at the wall. The nurse isn't really paying attention much as she's walking over to him. Loomis sees not Michael's head move, his eyes. And the way his eyes move, Loomis stops her. He's like, wait. And I'll do it. Michael's eyes go back to the wall. And Loomis, as he's checking the right, he leans down and Michael's like, I saw that. I saw that, you son of a bitch. He knows now. What he's been suspecting past those 8 years. Michael is faking the comatose. That's how he knew. You have to explain something. Not everything, but something. And it would make sense if a woman who looked like Judith triggered Michael. Okay. Now, again, I've said, does Dr. Rice put alive? No. he puts the one thing after not just reading all the notes, because by the end of the series, toward the end of it, it's not the complete end. Initially, he puts undecided because he interviews not just people who are older, he interviews younger people, how they feel about Michael Myers. Do they feel he's getting town people's opinions. He's curious. After all the notes he's read, he's curious about what people who are currently living in Haddonfield feel like. And he gets a quote from a young woman who says, Michael Myers feels like a ghost more so than a person. And he says, well, how so? Well, whether he's alive or dead, it's like he haunts this goddamn town. Like his essence, if you will. And Dr. Rice goes, okay, I understand what you're saying. Again, nobody has seen Michael since 2003. It's 2008. That's when this all takes place. That's when the series takes place. And like I said, initially he writes undecided. And he hands it over to the sheriff. And the sheriff says, why don't you stick around for the Halloween parade and the trick-or-treating tonight? Dr. Rice agrees. Michael shows up. Michael murders 9 people. And they're not just 9 teenagers. 4 teenagers, 3 small children, 1 adult, 2 adults. 9 people. In one night, he stalks the shit out of these people and then murders them. He all but murders a 10th, but what stops him is Dr. Rice. Because somebody gets out a 911 call that somebody's been stabbed. And the sheriff and Dr. Rice go check it out. And it happens on Maple Street. A lot of the murders happen along Maple Street. And Dr. Rice saves a young girl from being stabbed by throwing himself at Michael. He himself is stabbed, but he lives. And as he's laying in the back of the ambulance, he's going to be okay. His own blood is on his own hand. And remember, the sheriff did not go to the police station with Dr. Rice's findings. He said, I thought you might want this back. Undecided is erased. It's the sheriff who erased it. In Dr. Rice's own blood, he writes one thing: alive. Because you can't erase the blood. You can't keep erasing the blood Michael spills either. And that's how a Halloween series. You should have the stalking. You should have the leaves blowing, the wind. You have to have a good story. But you have to have a compelling one too. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good night.